Welcome back to the webcast. Week 15. We got your picks. I'm Adam. That's Doug. Let's go. All right, welcome back to the webcast, All Sports One Web. What a crazy weekend and Champions League we had in the past 5 days. We had a lot of questions going into last weekend. Can City cope without Haaland with his injury? How will Liverpool bounce back? Can Arsenal keep rolling? And we got all of that for you as we will get into Week 15 picks coming up here shortly. But yesterday and today was the wrap of the group stage of the Champions League, the sixth round. So really most of the stuff today was really already decided, but we will start with yesterday where Tottenham and group, what is that? Group D, Tottenham, Frankfurt, Sporting Lisbon, and Marseille were separated by 2 points going into the last week of action. Throughout the 90 minutes where both games were going on at the same time, all four teams were either in or out at some point during those 90 minutes. A lot of back and forth. The group finished with Tottenham atop the table, followed by Frankfurt. So both of them will be moving on to the round of 16, and then Sporting Lisbon and Marseille. But Tottenham had to travel to France to take on Marseille in that one and found themselves 1-0 down at halftime, which would have had them out of the Champions League in the sixth game week. They're able to come back, and now they are topping the group. How are you feeling? Topping the group, moving on.
Well, this pretty much this helps. This helps how we won that game. I mean, he missed a wide open. He should have made that, but that's beside the point. He didn't make it. We win the game. We move on to the round of 16. Was it deserved? No. Was that the worst first half I've ever seen Tottenham play? Yes. But I don't know what it is. We come out after halftime. We play like a completely different team. Did it against Bournemouth. Did it against Marseille. And it seems to always be we go down by 1. We come out in the second half and score 2. And I don't understand. It's got to be a game plan issue. Or maybe he's saving players. We lost Richarlison. We lost Kulusevski. Now we lost Son with a broken eye or whatever, eye bone. And it's just, I don't know if he's trying to save the players until after the World Cup to really make things happen, or he's just trying to avoid injuries. But regardless of if it's the players or if it's Conte, it's got to change. Because if we go, I think we play at home against Liverpool this weekend. If we go down 1-0 against Liverpool, they're not a team, well, historically, this year maybe it's different, but usually they're not a team that you can just score 2 goals on like nothing. They're not Bournemouth. They're not Marseille. I mean, we couldn't even do it against Newcastle. So something's got to change where we can't play as completely different teams in the first half and the second half. Second half, we look great. First half, we look terrible. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And if it's the players, we need to get rid of them. If it's the coach, he needs to stop doing that. He's a great coach. His style of football can be pretty. It can be great and fluid. It's just we don't have the team to do that. And right now, we don't have the intensity to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't consistently. I mean, you guys haven't scored the first goal in a game since Everton back at the beginning of October. I mean, you can't keep doing that, and especially with the style that you set up and continue to come back and win. We saw what happened when Newcastle were able to get 2 goals there quickly last time out in the Premier League, well, before this past weekend. And so you just can't keep doing that. We will definitely see, and we will get into that Liverpool-Tottenham game coming up here in the midweek. But Tottenham and Frankfurt both advancing out of Group D. They will join Napoli, Liverpool, Porto, Club Brugge, Bayern Munich, and Inter Milan as the teams that advanced yesterday to the round of 16. followed by today's game slate where most of the action was already completed. Chelsea and AC Milan already had clinched their spots. They advanced. Real Madrid, RB Leipzig as well. Manchester City and Dortmund follow as well. The crazy thing was Benfica and PSG were tied atop their table going into the 6th week. And based on results, they both end on 14 points, 16 goals for, 7 goals against, a +9 goal differential. They drew both of their games against each other. And so it went down to, I don't know if it was, I can't see all the statistics it went down to, but Benfica top that group with PSG, Juventus in the same group. What a great group stage for them. And what that means is that in the round of 16, the way the Champions League works, the group winners are in a pot and the group runner-ups are in a pot, and they get drawn against each other. So PSG, falling to second in their group, now can get paired against Manchester City, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Tottenham, Bayern, Porto, and Napoli, instead of the runners-up of all of those groups. And so now also from the teams like Tottenham and Chelsea who top their group are definitely going to be wanting to avoid a team like
come on,
PSG.
Club Brugge, come on, Porto, and they're still good teams, but we don't want to play PSG. I don't want to play Dortmund. Not. I don't want to play some of these teams. It's crazy that happened, and it's definitely going to suck because I know if I was a PSG fan, bring on Tottenham. Bring on Tottenham. But it's not, it's all up to the draw. So
and that's that's one of the best days when we draw out the round of 16. So we will give you our reaction when that comes out. So stay with us. The Champions League is now over. They have the draw later, and the knockout stage won't kick off until February, March of next year. So it is on pause now that the group stage is done. We got the World Cup coming up here in November, which is why the Champions League group stage was sped up, where we're playing basically every week. So we are on pause now, but we will be getting back into that in the start of 2023. And some great matchups are set to come with the 16 teams that are advancing. But now that is out of the way, let's move to the Premier League. It is Wednesday, so that means we are doing Premier League picks week 15 after a great slate of week 14 games, highlighted by Leeds United traveling to Anfield. A mistake by Joe Gomez with his backwards pass early gave Rodrigo and Leeds the early lead. They were able to add a late goal on there to get the 2-1 victory at Anfield, which is Virgil van Dijk's first loss at Anfield as a Liverpool starter. I cannot believe that was it was like 68 games or something like that they were unbeaten with him playing there at Anfield. Comes to a close with Leeds United getting the win. Bournemouth, like you mentioned, up 2-0 there at home against Tottenham last week. Tottenham roar back and score 3 against them. But as we mentioned yesterday in our NFL podcast, Bournemouth came up because we just could not get a read on how to pick. And this game with Leeds now winning at Anfield, their last 2 wins are against Chelsea and Liverpool. They didn't win any game in between there. Will Leeds at home continue this form and beat a Bournemouth team that we are kind of hot and cold on?
Yeah, the way Bournemouth played against Tottenham was, in the first half, obviously it was a tale of 2 halves. In the first half, they were explosive, and Kiefer Moore, their striker, he was all over the place. We couldn't mark him. He was just everywhere. Great goals. They were having great passes, great opportunities. And then once Tottenham turned it on, it just changed everything. And I don't think that they could stay switched on like they were, because I think it was a little bit of Tottenham switched on, but Bournemouth may have switched off. Their intensity kind of seemed down. They weren't going for balls quite as hard as they were. They got pretty deflated after we scored the first goal. And really just for that reason, and Leeds, coming off a high, I feel like Leeds will win this game. But these are 2 teams that, we've struggled with all year picking any game with these 2 teams, because we want Like, we want to pick them. We think they can be good. And then they show us that they're terrible. And then we think they're terrible. And then they show us brilliance. It's really hard to choose these teams. But I'm going to go with Leeds on this one.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, as Kevin mentioned here, just relegate Bournemouth now. Both of these teams are a point or 2 points above the relegation zone as it stands right now. We had big questions, especially for Bournemouth, on if they could score goals. They have been getting goals of late, which has been impressive and a big reason why they sit here with 3 wins and 4 draws on the season. And Leeds obviously had that hot start and went, I think, 5 or 6, 7 games there in a row, 6-game losing streak there in the middle. They bounced back against Liverpool. And with Jesse Marsch there at Leeds, still on the hot seat as we get closer to the World Cup as well. I think, that big international break, if you are on the hot seat, I feel like a lot of clubs will be making changes at that time because there is a 4-week hiatus to bring in a new manager, get the right guy in, get familiar with the squad. So he's going to have to put together a couple more performances like the one they had at Anfield. And I agree. I think this week is one of them. Leeds to take all 3 points there at Ellen Road. Pep Guardiola this week, after in his press conference before Manchester City's 3-1 win against Sevilla today in the Champions League to wrap up they're already finished top of the group, but to really wrap it up in the Champions League for Manchester City today, Pep said that Haaland wasn't going to be available for today's game, but will hopefully be available coming back into the fold against Fulham at home at the Etihad. Fulham with that 0-0 draw, no Mitrovic goal, ending his kind of streak of scoring against Everton last time out. You with the 97% that got this one as a Manchester City victory?
Yeah, I mean, Haaland or no Haaland, it really doesn't matter in this game. The City's too good. Period. I mean, Foden will score, Gundogan will score, De Bruyne will score. You know what I mean? Like, Grealish will score. It doesn't matter. They'll find a way to score. And I just don't think that Fulham will be able to possess the ball long enough to score. You know what I mean? They're only going to be able to possess it in their half. And it's going to be back passes to the goalie, a few passes to the center backs. I just don't think they're going to be able to get through City. There may be the odd counter for Mitrovic, so they may score a goal, but I think that City are going to put up at least 2 goals on Fulham's defense. And I think, it's not a stretch to say 3 or 4 goals in this game, especially if Haaland does play, whether he comes on in the 70th minute or not. If he's on the field, I bet you he scores a goal.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him to keep his hot streak going there. I expect him to return. They got a lot of players rested against Sevilla today since they had already clinched the group. So a lot of players will be coming back into the fold for the weekend. And Kevin De Bruyne's goal, his free kick against Leicester, was absolutely incredible last week, giving them the 1-0 win. Bringing Haaland back, I think, will make them feel more comfortable in the way that they play with such a potent striker up top. So I got City as well, comfortably taking down the Cottagers there at the Etihad. Nottingham Forest, Dean Henderson returning with the cap at the City ground, but they had a 5-0 thrashing to Arsenal and Arsenal's backups in Sunday's game there at the Emirates. They returned to the City ground to take on Brentford, who had a 1-1 draw with Wolves last time out. Who do you got in this one? Dean Henderson in the cap, going to be the Great Wall of China again there at the City ground and force a draw here?
It just seems like he can't be beat, when he's got the cap on. It's just a different animal. No, I think Brentford are playing really, really solid soccer right now. I think Ivan Toney is in great form. He didn't really do anything spectacular last season like we were all hoping he would, but now he's starting to kind of find his feet in the Prem. And I think with that, they're going to just ride him all the way to victory in this game.
Great start to the season for them. They found themselves mid-table-ish, 3 wins, 5 draws on the season. Forest find themselves bottom of the table. And despite Dean Henderson, maybe I could go with a draw in this one, being at home. But I think,
Oh, here's a
Kevin
good point.
mentioned here that Tony suspended 5 yellow cards. I don't think it'll matter in this one. I still like Brentford to pick up all 3 points there against Forest, who just are struggling at the moment. Good performance 2 weeks ago, but that game against Arsenal a couple days ago was just absolutely terrible. Especially for a team that has fired practically half of their upper level management with all of the transfers that they did, 22 players bringing in the summer. You think that maybe they would get some more structure at this point, but it just seems like it continues to go backwards for them. And I got Brentford as well in this one. Wolves, Diego Costa got his first red card as a Premier League player, 90+7. I can no longer hold on to that statistic. For all of those that hate him, he had never gotten a red card until last week there at Brentford. They take on Brighton, who absolutely obliterated Chelsea in Graham Potter's return there to the Amex. 4-1 winners on the day, comfortable from start to finish. Brighton had kind of a dip in form before Chelsea arrived there last weekend. They had all of the energy. Trossard on the score sheet once again. Now they travel to take on Wolves, who are really good there at Molineux in terms of not conceding anything. Are you with the 72% though that have Brighton going in there and picking up all 3 points?
I am. I think Brighton are just continuing to prove that they're the best run club in England. They just have the best structure, the best front office, great coaching staff, and it just all trickles down to the field. And you can tell that everybody's there and they love the club. They want to play for the club, and they just pour their hearts out every game. And they just play well together. And it helps when they have a player like Caicedo in the midfield who just slotted in for Basuma and said, Basuma who? He is just stomping the midfield for them. And it's fantastic to watch. Trossard really starting to score a lot of goals for them, which is what they needed. They needed to find goals. And I think they're playing really well. And I think Wolves are not playing very well. They are definitely struggling this season. So I know they play well at home and they're very defensive, but I just don't see how Brighton don't break them down and win this game.
Yeah, Trossard 7 goals on the season now for Brighton, including that hat trick that we saw a couple of weeks ago there at Anfield.
I'm curious what his highest goal season is.
Because I don't know if he's probably getting close. Past 7. Yeah,
he's probably getting very close, and we're not even halfway through the season yet.
Yeah, and especially for him, 12 games in for him, 7 goals, which is a great return. Wolves 1 win in 7 in their last 7 games, and that was against Nottingham Forest, 1-0 there at home. So Diego Costa also suspended for this one. I think they lose a dimension with him being out. So I do like Brighton to score, keep that energy going. And I just don't see Wolves being able to score anything in this one. So I agree, Brighton to take all 3 points there at Molineux. Leicester, a good performance against Manchester City, only going down to a fantastic free kick from Kevin De Bruyne. Everton with a 0-0 draw as they have kind of rebounded, steadied the ship a little bit. Unbeaten in their last 2, I guess, but with the form that they started the season, that's actually pretty good. Calvert-Lewin obviously back into the fold, a big reason why that is going on. Alex Iwobi still playing very well throughout the season. Are you a little surprised to see Everton only 20% there at home to take all 3 points from Leicester?
The only reason I'm not is because Leicester's starting to figure it out. And, I would like to see. I think this will be a great game. I think these teams are very evenly matched. I think they're both, starting to figure out, they're starting to play like we all thought they would and like they should be playing. I think this will be a draw. I don't think either team, this is a tough one because they're both like the same level. So I want to pick a draw, but I just don't think that Everton will score. But when I think about it, I don't know that Leicester will score. They kind of have just been. They had a few goals from Tielemans, from top of the box or something, or they'll have James Madison doing some absolute magician work in the box and stuff. So I think this is going to be a 0-0 draw or a 1-1 draw. I don't think that this is going to be a very high-scoring game, but I think it'll be an exciting game. I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, I think Everton have a lot more structure. They know how to play with Calvert-Lewin. He's a great ball-playing center forward, link-up play, being able to hold the ball up as well and not lose it. Leicester only 1 goal against in their last 4 games. Has been fantastic, and they've played some great teams. That 1 goal was last week against Manchester City. So they have been turning it around on that side of the ball. At Goodison Park, though, I can see Everton picking it up a little bit and getting on the score sheet. So I could see a 1-1 draw in this one, maybe a 2-1 victory for Everton, returning home and continuing that form. But I can agree with you on a draw.
Yeah, I could be persuaded either way, really. I mean, I don't know how to pick this game, and so just throw a draw at it, and think, just play the odds.
Yeah. One of 2 top 6 matchups this week, as top of the table, Arsenal take their 10 wins to West London to take on Chelsea, who got the win today against Dynamo Zagreb in the Champions League to finish up that group. But 4-1 losers at the weekend to Brighton at the Amex. Who do you got in the return? Aubameyang, as Kevin mentions here, Aubameyang playing Arsenal once again. We'll see if he gets the start there. And if he'll play today, he played kind of on that left-hand side. And, Havertz played up top with Sterling on the right-hand side. So we will see how Graham Potter lines up for the Arsenal game. Who do you got for this one?
I don't even want to pick a winner in this game. You know what I mean? Neither of these teams deserve the win. No, I think Arsenal's going to win this game. And I think Chelsea they're struggling. I mean, we all know that. They got really beat by Brighton pretty bad. And I think it's the same reasons as what we always hear you talking about is, they just don't have an identity. They have Cucurella playing at left wing back, but he's playing terribly. Then they put Sterling there. Sterling's not a left wing back, so it's just they're trying to find solutions to problems, and they are currently still searching for those solutions. So I don't see them figuring it out against the top team in the table. I just don't think that is going to happen this week. I think they will figure it out. I think they're too good of a team. And I think Graham Potter's a good coach. So I think they will get it figured out. It's just this week is a really tough week to try and figure out how to win.
All right. I have so many issues with that game against Brighton. Again, I don't know how many times we have to go over this. Today, finally, we didn't play Sterling or Pulisic as a wing back in this one. Loftus-Cheek didn't play in the last 2 games as a wing back, even though he had been performing pretty well there. I have to give him his due, to be fair. So in that Brighton game, I was watching that and I was just losing my mind in that first half. I just could not understand, after all of the performance, that lineup that came out, Sterling on the left-hand side, Cucurella, the left side of the back 3, Pulisic as the right wing back, and then Havertz, Mount, Gallagher, Kovacic, and Loftus-Cheek as the front players. Let's just are we just trying to stack in the midfield? And if so, then you need a lot of link-up play. You need to be able to link and drive, and really be able to pass through. And we couldn't pass or complete any stages of that. I compare it to kind of like baseball, especially the way that the Guardians play baseball. Single, run. Single, run. You need to string together a couple of hits in order to drive in some runs. For Chelsea, the way that we set up, we needed to be able, we had, back 3, back 5, however you want, with Sterling and Pulisic. So we needed to be able to get the ball out of the back. Well, what did our back 3 do with our 3 defenders? We had 2 own goals, and one of them gave away the pass for the for the first goal. Thiago Silva with terrible terrible pass that led to Brighton's first goal. And so that was already a problem. Then when we actually advanced the ball and got the ball to players up the field, we would need to beat someone. You need to be able to go around someone, take someone on. And when half the time when people weren't doing that, the other half of the time, Sterling was just losing the ball or falling over, which was absolutely terrible. The ball wouldn't stick to Havertz. The interlink play was terrible the entire time. And we went all the way to halftime like that. It could have been worse, even though we had 2 own goals. It could have been a lot worse than it was. And we get to halftime. We move Loftus-Cheek out to the right-hand side of the back 3. I was hoping for more substitutions, but they didn't come. But we moved Loftus-Cheek out there, switched the formation a little bit.
Center back?
No, the right side wing back. Right wing.
I was going to say, now they're putting him at center back?
No, because, the thing about Loftus-Cheek, right? Like, the thing about Loftus-Cheek, when he's been playing right wing back, he has a little bit more freedom and he gets a little bit more space on the ball than he does when he's kind of playing in the midfield. Yeah. And when he has a little bit of space and can get his head up, he is great at picking out where to drive, to take on players, to take a little bit more of a risk. And he's been able to beat them, which is what you want if you have a Pulisic or a Sterling as wing back, but they don't do it.
Yeah, they can't figure it out. They don't know how to play that position.
Terrible.
Like Loftus-Cheek looks a lot more comfortable.
It's so terrible. It is so terrible. And I don't know why we keep doing that. And if we do that, if Sterling starts as a left wing back, I'm not even going to watch the game. We're going to get splattered. Absolutely splattered. Arsenal haven't I think Arsenal have beaten Chelsea at Stamford Bridge the last 2 times out, and we have looked abysmal. Thomas Tuchel's first game, I think, was a loss, or his first loss. His first time playing Arsenal was a loss at Stamford Bridge in that one. Maybe Kevin says maybe 4-2-2 formation can work for Chelsea with Aubameyang and Sterling as strikers and Mount and Havertz as the attacking midfielders.
Let me answer this one.
Yeah.
Chelsea can't play a back 4.
Chelsea cannot play a back 4.
Done.
Now we played a back 4 today. Yeah, exactly. We cannot play a back 4. I don't know.
I do agree with that though. You need to have Mount and Havertz as attacking midfielders. I think having them and then having behind him, or behind those two, having Kovacic and Jorginho, I think that would be fantastic. It's just you guys can't play a back 4.
No, we can't play a back 4.
Yes,
we saw that in preseason when we lost, guess who? Arsenal, 4-0, because we were trying to play a back 4 and we couldn't defend anything. And today we played a back 4. We gave up a goal in the first 8 minutes to Dynamo Zagreb. We played a back 4 with Thomas Tuchel away to Dynamo there in Croatia, and we lost in that one as well. We cannot play a back 4. We can definitely not play a back 3 when we play with Sterling and Pulisic as wingbacks. Sterling, honestly, he scored a good goal today. I have no idea what to do with him. The biggest insult to a player and the biggest respect to a outside fullback is when the winger that is on that side has to switch sides to the other side, because that is saying that they are not doing what they're supposed to do on their side and they aren't able to beat their defender. And you're talking about Sterling, a guy you bring in to be able to do that,
to beat anybody,
be able to score, to take players on, and he hasn't been able to do that. And I'm fine with him taking risks, losing the ball from time to time. I'm perfectly fine with that. But he hasn't been able. He doesn't take on anyone and beat anyone anymore. He does not look like looking Sterling. Terrible. No, he is looking terrible. Havertz scored a great goal as well. Not last week in the Champions League against Salzburg. Great goal again against Brighton as well with the header back post, but granted it was 3-1. And so, but he can't hold the ball much anyway. And I get your point with bringing him back into the midfield a little bit. But it's just been terrible link up play and terrible identity and terrible structure. And we need to get away from it. So Kevin says here, a back 4 without Thiago Silva, then Cucurella, Koulibaly, Fofana, James, if everyone is healthy. A back 4 without Thiago Silva. No,
you spelled Chilwell wrong.
Exactly. Cucurella needs to be on the bench. I don't get it. He has, in the last, if you take the last six games or so for Chelsea, the 2 best players coming off of the bench have been, in my opinion, Pulisic and Chilwell. And Chilwell, head and shoulders above everyone else. Why he isn't starting, I hope it's because they're trying to bring him back slowly from his terrible injury
That's
that he
the
had at the
only
end of last year.
reasonable explanation.
Because Cucurella has been terrible, absolutely terrible, especially in the back three like that. And I would love to see him. He hasn't really gotten as much of a chance playing left wing back. He's usually played at the left side of the center three when he has been playing. Fofana is still out. Koulibaly got a little bit of a knock, did finish the game today. We'll see if he's going to be healthy going into it. But we need to play a back five. And for the life of me, with all of this problems at wing back, we have Azpilicueta, a captain who can control, just sitting on the bench every game. Why?
Yeah, even though like you can put him at right wing back and he will be more defensive. He won't go quite as far forward. But with your defensive woes, that may be helpful. But he can also play that right-sided center back. So if you have Thiago Silva and then Azpilicueta and Koulibaly, I mean, that's a lot of experience in the back three. And
yeah, the issue I will say with
Silva
that
is great with the ball normally.
Yeah, normally.
So
he has a game like this, or when he the first game against West Brom, same kind of story where he was just terrible on the ball and it leads to mistakes. The issue that I have with that back three is age, and we've seen it early on in the season, especially against the likes of Saka and Martinelli and even Jesus. The speed of which Arsenal can attack, I think, will be a problem. What I would like to see, though, in my opinion, is you have Azpilicueta, right wing back, Chalobah as a right-sided center back, Koulibaly, Thiago Silva there in the middle, and then Chilwell as the left wing back.
Oh, that's 100%.
That's 100%. Then you can have, then you'll have Kovacic and Jorginho there in the middle, and then up top, I would love to see Pulisic on the right, Mount on the left, and Havertz up top.
Over Aubameyang.
Over Aubameyang, yeah. I think it just provides more of an identity that we're used to, that we've played well in.
I completely agree.
The core is still there. We're at home as well. We're going to want to maintain possession. And even though I think Havertz hasn't been great on the ball in terms of keeping possession, I think he provides a little bit more than Aubameyang does on that side of his game. And with the way that we played against Brighton, we cannot afford to be embarrassed. So I need structure, and I need reliable structure, which this is what we're used to, right? This is the same team practically that went on to win the Champions League, minus substituting Rudiger for Koulibaly, and obviously no Reece James, so you bring in Chalobah there. And move Azpilicueta on to the right-hand side. But I think this is what we need to do. We always play Arsenal. We play poorly against Arsenal. I don't know what it is. At home, anyway. We play so poorly against them. I wouldn't be surprised. And if I had to do a pick and a prediction here, I would go with an Arsenal win here. I think Chelsea will have more energy for this one. We do play better in big games. So I could see... I would expect a draw from us. I do not expect a Chelsea win to be the least likely of the three. But with the way that Arsenal plays, the fluidity that they play, I agree with you. Arsenal need to win. But I swear to God, if Sterling is starting as a left wing back, I'm going to throw my head through a window. I cannot. Honestly, I want him, as you mentioned, as I said in my lineup, I want him to start on the bench. Personally, him and Cucurella both. I need them to. I prefer them to start on the bench, and you can bring them in later. But I just am not seeing enough from them. And I think we talked about it a couple times on the show with some other sports and other teams, and even Tottenham. Actually, the way that you bring in new players, I think, is so important to the team and the team ethos and the structure and all of that kind of stuff. And we brought in these players way too fast. And I think it's destroyed everything. I mean, so many times throughout the games, you have players just bouncing around, playing different positions, and it's all ineffective. It's not for a purpose. It's not to, and I'm over it. And I am scared for this game, to be honest with you, as a Chelsea fan. But I need some structure back in my life.
I completely agree with Kevin. I think you guys need to play 4 in the back. I know you've struggled with it.
We can't. Doug. We cannot.
Listen. No, hear me out. My sole goal as Graham Potter would be to be able to play a 4-3-3 with your team, or a 4-2-3-1, or 4-1-4-1, however 4-4-2, I don't care, but 4 in the back, because you guys have too many good midfielders to not play them. So no, they're not on form yet as of right now. But to me, it should be Chilwell, Koulibaly, Fofana, and James. So I agree with his back four minus Cucurella. I think Chilwell is better than him. Then you have Kovacic or Jorginho, depending on who you're playing. Kovacic, Jorginho, and Mason Mount, or Kovacic, Jorginho, and
if we're throwing healthy players in there, you got to put Conte in there if you're going to play a back four.
Oh, right. Okay, so if we're talking healthy, yeah. So then we're talking really good. Conte, Jorginho, and then you put Mount as more of your attacking midfielder. Okay, and then you have Sterling, Pulisic, and Havertz, as your front three. And you kind of have Havertz in more of that false nine and let Sterling and Pulisic come forward in front of him. I think if your team is healthy and you have all those players available, I would do everything in my power to have that team on the field, because you can dominate the midfield, and you have Conte and Jorginho who can hold the ball in midfield. They're two great midfielders together, especially. Like, on their own, they're great, but together they're fantastic. So I don't understand, why they're trying out all these different wing backs. Like, why are you playing them out of position? Just change your formation to play them in their position to help them out better, or don't play them. Like you're saying, just put Sterling on the bench. He doesn't have to be on the field. It's not like he's Kane, where we are terrible without Kane, and so we just got to put him on the field and make him figure something out. Our son, just put him out there. He'll do something. No, that's not it. Sterling has not been there this year, so he's clearly going through some things. You just force feed him the ball in his position that he feels comfortable in, or you bench him. You don't put him out of position and make him feel even more uncomfortable when he's clearly not on form. That, to me, is just a recipe for disaster. He has no chance of succeeding in a position he's never played, and he's already out of form. You're asking to kill his career. I mean, that's just what it's at. That's what's happening.
Yeah, great reaction for his goal today. You could see what it meant to him to get on the score sheet again. And it was a good goal as well. But I totally agree. I mean, last year we had so many issues because Chilwell and Reece James were out for an extended period of time, and all the fan base was just, don't play Alonso. You cannot play Alonso. It's like starting a goal down if we play Alonso. Get rid of Alonso. Why are we playing Alonso?
I love Alonso. I thought he was
fantastic. I know, yeah, but the reason he's just slower, and he just couldn't keep up with it. And so now we have Chilwell back. We bring in Cucurella, and you have Azpilicueta, and yet we aren't using any of them as a wing back.
Azpilicueta could even play on the left. You know what I mean?
He could play anywhere. He started as a left back.
That's what I mean.
He moved to the right back.
In any of those 5 back positions, and he will be better than what they've been so far.
Yeah, Jose Mourinho once said, "Give me
whatever," but he's not going to play poorly.
Yeah, exactly. Jose Mourinho once said, "Give me 11 Azpilicuetas, I'll win the Champions League." But anyway, that's enough about Chelsea. My 15-minute rant every week needs to be a separate video, I guess, because wow. We will see how that one goes. Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo getting the start last week. Good win against West Ham. United maybe not at their best. Rashford getting on the score sheet. His 100th goal in the colors of Manchester United as they take on Aston Villa, who fired Gerrard, bring in Emery, 4-0 win, now a 4-0 loss. So how do you think they will respond as they welcome Manchester United to Villa Park?
I talked up Emery so much, and they're going to play great with Unai. It's going to be perfect pairing, and then they get slaughtered on the weekend. No, I think Manchester United's really playing well. I think Casemiro and Fred are becoming quite the duo in midfield. It's not McFred anymore, so Fred now can play like he's supposed to and like he can. And I'm not going to say McTominay's bad. It's just McFred is bad. It's just kind of what it is.
I mean, he's not Casemiro.
He's just not Casemiro. So regardless if Ronaldo plays, if Rashford's on form, whatever, they're going to be so solid in midfield with Fernandes, Casemiro, and Fred. And if they throw in Eriksson, that's just an extra added, security, ball security, and you're going to get at least 2 or 3 good balls if he plays a full game. You're going to get really good threatening crosses from Eriksson or just, through balls. So I think that Manchester United are going to be too explosive for Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa may be able to sneak a goal, but I think Manchester United are really starting to figure it out. And you got Kevin here actually pointing out something good. His first day was yesterday. But yeah, I don't think that they're going to be up for the task against Man United this week.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think, Emery getting his hands on the team, I can see them putting in a good performance, especially on the attacking side. Manchester United only scoring more than 2 goals once in the last month, and that was against Manchester City, and practically, in the 6-3 thrashing that they had. So it was those last 2 goals, I think, were in the last 15 minutes as well. Right. So kind of garbage goals as well. And so I see Villa putting a good performance in. Manchester United have been, good on the road. They're much better, I think, there at Old Trafford than on the road. So I could see a good high-scoring draw in this one. United have to play Real Sociedad tomorrow. Their group is already wrapped up, though, so we'll see who gets the playing time in tomorrow's game and then who will start on Sunday here for the game against Aston Villa. But I would have a draw in this one. Even though this would be a great win for Manchester United as they look to leapfrog Newcastle and get into the top 4 once again this season after their poor start. A good comeback they've had. I'm
good with a draw.
Yeah.
I think Aston Villa, they're a good team. And I've talked about them so much. I think I had them in the top 5. I think I had them, edging 6th. Out. Yeah, I think I had them edging out Man United. I think I had them in the 6th spot, in Man United in 7th.
Yeah.
And, that it's not panning out so far, but we got time.
Yeah, we'll see what Emery can do once he gets there in the training ground and gets his hands on that attacking talent that they got. Newcastle continue their fine form with a great win last time out. Amaron on the score sheet once again, getting Newcastle's 4th goal as they continue their winning ways as they travel to Southampton this weekend. And 89% have Newcastle to continue winning ways and stay in the top 4 themselves. You got Newcastle all 3 points?
I do. I mean, they're a fantastic team. They're playing amazing right now. They didn't even have St. Maximin, healthy. So when he comes back healthy, just, they don't have to force him into the team because they're playing so well without him. So it's just that added threat off the bench at the 70th minute. You get a fresh St. Maximin to come on. That's not going to be good news for a lot of these teams. And honestly, I think the only team that can beat them is City and Arsenal. They're the only 2 teams that really can either go to Newcastle or whatever and actually beat them. So I give Southampton my best wishes, but I don't think they have a chance in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the only team to beat Newcastle this year is Liverpool City with that 3-3 draw. Great game early on in the season at St. James's Park. This one is on the South Coast, so not at the vault that is St. James's Park, but I agree, Newcastle to take all 3 points there on the South Coast. As we move on to Crystal Palace, who keep chugging away, 1-0 winners last time out against Southampton as they take on West Ham, who fell 1-0 to Manchester United. West Ham obviously playing tomorrow in the Conference League. Their games are coming thick and fast for them in this London derby. Who do you got?
Well, since they're at home, I am going to pick a draw because they play tomorrow. If they didn't play tomorrow, I would probably have West Ham edging this one out. We're both super high on Crystal Palace. We think they're a solid team. They play well together. They have really good shape. But I think I'm going to I would pick a draw. I could see a West Ham win. It's just I don't know how that game on the tomorrow is going to affect them, because that's a lot of games they got coming. And for me, they're still not quite there yet. I mean, losing 1-0 against Man United really isn't a bad loss. It's not like they played horrendously by any means. So I feel like they're starting to get it back together, but they have 7 losses on the season. They've struggled quite a bit. So I'm not super convinced with West Ham yet, but I am convinced enough to give them a draw in this game.
Yeah, they just haven't been able to score enough goals. I mean, we thought Bowen could be up there atop their scoring charts throughout the season with how he played, especially at the end of last season. But only 2 goals in the Premier League for him, and he tops the goal charts there for West Ham, despite their good summer transfer window as well. They are at home. I believe they should be comfortable in their group. They won last time out, 1-0, I think, at home. So I think they're okay in their Conference League group, but so we'll see who does play. I do like West Ham to bounce back in the against Palace, but I can see a draw here. But I agree, the London Stadium, I think, is what's going to edge it maybe to West Ham. So I like a West Ham victory in this one, even though I think it will be a very close game and could go a draw as well.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Another great game on the slate as Liverpool bounced back with a win this week in the Champions League to advance second in their group behind Napoli. Tottenham come back once again in their game yesterday to advance top of their group in the Champions League. Liverpool losing last time out to Leeds in the Premier League. Can they get back to winning ways? Only 5 points out with their terrible start to the season, only 5 points out of the top 4. Tottenham currently sit in the top 4. They are at home. Who do you got in this one?
I mean, Tottenham just scare me. They don't, like I was saying earlier, they don't play well in the first half unless they want to. And you never know when they want to. And then they'll come out in the second half and be a completely different team. But when you play a good team like Liverpool, whether they're struggling or not, we have not beat a top 6 team yet this year. Currently sitting in the top 6, not the top 6 clubs, but current team sitting in the top 6, we have not won. And I believe we have the most come from behind wins, which can't last forever. And it's not a good tactic against good teams like Liverpool. So we can't beat top 6 teams. We like to come back in our wins. It's just not a good look. And, I mean, for that reason, I'm going to pick Liverpool to win this game because I don't see how we're going to change the way we've been playing. I don't think there's going to be any intensity for the first 45 minutes of this game on Tottenham's side. I think Liverpool are going to come out. They're going to smack us in the mouth. They're going to score a goal or 2 in the first half. We're going to come out in the second half. And we're probably going to claw back, maybe get 1 or 2. But I think Liverpool, if we are to get 2 goals, I think Liverpool will catch us out and score their own because they have Mo Salah. I mean,
they have
one of the best counter-attackers in the league. And if we're going to start going more all out to try and claw back for a victory, I think Salah will catch us out.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this one because Liverpool it's hot and cold with them. We saw a absolute electric performance against City there at Anfield, and then they go and put a absolute dreadful performance. Everyone is out of form. Salah's missing passes. Gomez can't pass it back to Alisson. Nobody is playing well, and they lose out to the Leeds there at home. I just don't know what to make of them. Son obviously out, as you mentioned, with the broken bone right under his eye. So it'd be interesting to see how Tottenham's set up, and are they going to just welcome Liverpool on without the threat of Son going up, or are they going to try and switch it up a little bit? I will see if Basuma plays as well to kind of try and strengthen that midfield. I can't pick someone to win this game, so I would go draw here. You mentioned that Tottenham haven't played well against anyone in the top 6. But you currently sit in the top 4 because you pick up points. You were able to battle back against Chelsea, for example, and get the draw there. And at some point, I think that I don't know. I really don't know what to make of these teams.
100% should win this game.
Just,
There's no reason that Tottenham should not come out and win this game. You know, not having Son is huge. Like, that is a big deal. But we can still score. You know, we still have, you know, Kane is still going to be Kane. We have Brian Hill on the bench, who's been playing fantastic in the Champions League, finally starting to get minutes in the Premier League. I mean, I know a lot of Tottenham fans that have been begging for him to come on just for that creativity. And we lost Kulusevski and we lost Richarlison. So instead of changing our entire formation, we play better as a 3-4-3. I prefer the look of the 3-5-2 because normally we get destroyed in the midfield. But the way Højbjerg and Bentancur have been playing, and they're starting to score goals now, that is huge for us. Now, I'm not saying we can count on them to score a goal a game or anything.
92nd minute winner again.
Yeah, but they have been stepping up when we need them, and they have by far, not even close, been our two best players this season. And if we didn't have them, we would not be 8-2-3. There's just no shot. And that's why, I don't know if Conte is trying to save these players by not playing so hard in the first half, and then, if we need to go out and score some goals, then okay, lets them loose. But if we were to lose Bentancur or Højbjerg, we would be in serious trouble. And Basuma has not been playing very well. He's been getting more minutes now that we've been playing more of a 3-5-2, and he hasn't impressed. And it's frustrating because, we were all so high on him. He did fantastic last season for Brighton. He comes in for like 25 million. We all think that's a steal. And now he's not really playing fantastic. And we're like, well, maybe it was Brighton's system. You know what I mean? Maybe that was the issue, or maybe it's because Conte didn't have very much faith in him from the start. I mean, we were both begging for him, like, why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? Play the 3-5-2, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Basuma. That's a solid midfield. It's not going to break records for anything crazy, but that's a solid midfield. And then you have Son Kane or Son Kulusevski Kane, however you want to put it. We have threats going forward. We have a solid midfield for a terrible back three that needs help. So that's what that's what I thought should happen. Didn't happen. And we struggle in a lot of these games, and we struggle against the good teams. We beat the teams that we're supposed to beat. Good for us. Let's start picking up some points against the teams that we should either draw or potentially lose to. Let's go pick up some points against them, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between really, being near the top of the table and pushing to the top of the table is being able to compete week in, week out, keep up a certain level against every single type of opposition and not just the teams that you're supposed to be. But a great start to the season nonetheless for Tottenham. And I think we're going to settle on a draw here.
Yes, I'm okay with that because I just don't see – I would love to see Tottenham win. I'd love to eat my words and have them play a fantastic game because that would be nothing but a win for me. That's what I've been needing to see that because I'm just like you. I'm ready to throw my head through the screen. And I just don't want to see Lucas Moura playing up top because he's coming back from injury or whatever, but he's not – he never has been a very consistent player. Yes, he had the hat trick against Ajax for us and was the sole reason we made it to the Champions League final. I get that. He'll go down in history as, that'll be one of the best Spurs moment in history. That's fantastic. But when you have a young 21-year-old Brian Hill on the bench who's done nothing but good things for us and is a super creative player, he takes on players like it's his job because it is. Just like when Pulisic gets in, he tries to take on players, regardless if it's the right call or not. Doesn't matter. He's aggressive. And if you have Kane lurking around that's, you're going to score a goal. And I hope he plays. We'll see what happens. I don't think he will because Conte doesn't seem to believe in young players, even though we've ridden Kulusevski's 23-year-old coattails the entire season or all of last season. But yeah, it's just I can't pick a winner in this one. If I did, it would be Liverpool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a great one. We got 2 top 6 matches here this week in the Premier League, so enjoy those. We do all of our picks here through ESPN. Go ahead and make your account and pick along with us. We are now cracking the top 800 as we push. We have rebounded a little bit after 2 poor weeks. Hopefully we can keep on going as we push for number 1 across the board. We do EPL on Wednesday. College football, we got you on Friday this week, and the NFL is on Tuesdays. So come and join us 7 p.m. Eastern for all of those picks. All of the artwork that you see is by Smiley Sports Artwork. Go check her Instagram out in the description below. And from all of us here at the webcast, I'm Adam and that's Doug. We will see you on Friday for college football.